want to read what the amendment in the IPL is all about. And the amendment to the principal audience is amended in section 3, subsection 2B, Roman 2, by deleting subparagraph 2 in its entirety and replacing it with the following. Now here is where things begin to get interesting. One member appointed on the recommendation of the leader of the opposition. This is the proposed amendment I'm reading. Or, if there is no leader of the opposition, then a person nominated by the Premier after consultation with the members, if any, of the opposition party or parties represented in the Nevis Island Assembly. Now here's what we are trying to do. And let me tell the people of Nevis what exactly we are trying to do. The integrity in public life is a critical piece of ordinance in the governance of good governance in the island of Nevis. Right? And the Concerned Citizen Movement is saying that this is a party that is serious about good governance. We are trying to fix a situation where the Nevis Reformation Party themselves cannot come to an agreement as to who should be the leader of the opposition. So now, I was going to say the poor Premier find himself in a bind. Find himself in a bind because the integrity in public life legislation or ordinance is missing something, because he must consult with the leader of the opposition.
Yes, but there's none.
Precisely.
And of course, remember, the IPL is part of our good governance agenda.
And because there is none, we find ourselves in the parliament having to try and get around this thing. So what it is that we are trying to do? We are trying to say that the Premier would consult the member for Nevis number 4 and say, who would be your choice? The Premier would consult with the member for number 5 and say, who would be your choice? But here's the problem. I have a feeling, gentlemen, that they're not going to agree, you know. I have a feeling that whomever one person choose, they're not going to agree. And I think that this is going to create some challenge for us, because I am not certain if they are going to agree on anybody to sit on this IPL committee. And it is sad. And I say it, as I said before, I rest this squarely at the inability of the leader of the Nevis Reformation Party to control her political organization. This is right at her feet. Right? Now, I believe that this is a situation that opens up perhaps a wider conversation. And why I say that? I say that because we have a situation where we have a number of ordinances which speaks to the Premier in consultation with the leader of the opposition, or the Prime Minister in consultation with the leader of the opposition. We could have a situation next week where the Premier would have to go and consult the leader of the opposition, but there is no leader of the opposition. This is almost putting us, and the constitutional scholars would have to tell me if I am correct or not. I am thinking that this is almost becoming a constitutional crisis, in that because the leader of NRP cannot control her political organization, we are ending up at this impasse, because we may have to go back in the house next week, next month, next year, to do something like this again in other ordinances in the Nevis Island Assembly. It can affect the federal government as well, because we could have a situation at the federal level where the governing party can have 8 seats. We know that one political party on St. Kitts have had 8 seats before.
Yes.
We know that CCM and Nevis have all 3 seats. 8 plus 3 I am not saying that CCM may join with a Labour Party to form the government, but anything is possible. I am saying that perhaps we need to look at this in a much wider context. Perhaps, what we probably need to do is to look at the Constitution and amend the Constitution.
And you know, that is going to be very difficult.
No, hold on. Listen, gentlemen. I think that we are opening up a can of worms here, right? Because we could have a situation at the federal level. I'm talking about the federal level now.
Okay.
We see the confusion that it's causing right here in Little Nevis, right? We could have a situation at the federal level where you have, on the government side, 9 members. Let's look at the numbers game. At the federal level, you can have on the government side 9 members. And on the opposition side, you have 2. And the 2 members on the opposition not talking to each other.
Precisely.
And
like what is happening in Evelyn.
Exactly. So how do you appoint a leader of the opposition? Let's look at the federal level. When you have a similar situation, on one side you have 9, you have 2. You can also have 10 at the federal level and 1. My thinking is, looking at this thing, is perhaps, and like I said, the constitutional scholars would have to tell me if this is correct or not. Perhaps the Governor General and the Deputy Governor General need to be enshrined in the Constitution to appoint a leader of the opposition of their own choosing. When you have people,
you're looking for trouble now, Spencer.
Listen, when you have people who can't make up their mind as to how they're going to put the best interests of the country at
You're
heart.
looking for trouble now, man.
Well, it is problems now, but it's something that we need to look at in a much wider context. And I'm putting it out there. I am putting it out there because I would have never thought
None of us.
that in 2023 a major political party on Nevis would have been in this kind of...
I got a lot of faith in NRP, man.
No. Listen. Here's why I'm saying it. Listen. The member for number 5 made a statement in Parliament. Right? She said, some people come into things.
They don't understand. You know, but this, if I could chime in.
Just before you chime in, Troy, those of you who are listening out there, I'm sure some of you want to weigh in. So our numbers are 869-469-1616, 1700. This is a very interesting conversation we're having here tonight. And I'm sure some political scholars and constitutional scholars are out there and would want to weigh in. So if we have anybody on the line, good evening, caller, you're live and on the mark.
Hello, good night to everybody in the panel. Yes, good topic.
Good night.
Yes, good night.
Remember, for number 5, we believe he just run things, you know. Because they say he wasn't in there when they're trying to pass the integrity level.
No. We're talking about it in Nevis for number 5 in Nevis, not St. Kitts. Not St. Kitts, okay?
Why people wanted to come here because so far as they say, look like we're the best right now in the Caribbean. Because you go get a salary in the government thing. If they are paying over your money, if you're over 3,000, and you could still get something more on your money. And I noticed year 4 when they shut down, not 2020 when they shut down. If you see the amount of strangers, right? In the line of Social Security, you will believe they're born here. So, why people coming here right now? I think this government, Prime Minister Wayne, is trying his best. But as you say, already opposition up there, even though you're all trying the best. I don't listen to them too, and then I make some comments,
Yes.
But I just listen to when you say the road good, but tomorrow night or Saturday I'm going to listen to them and they say, oh my, that top of the bypass road, the thing ain't even finished yet and it's still got patrol in it. You try to say something as though it represents. And if you run in a party and nobody could say, oh, you try, you better you form a new another party. Because the lady, you know, you never think be able to do it. He told them, I thought they should have sit down and say who wanted us to come minister at the opposition and who wanted to be so, but I was surprised. That's the history, you know, first time first time in his think it's never this ever happened. The people get together and run, and when you look, you got to come a disaster. So, Miss Daniel, I don't know what will happen, but I think you should have leave that alone unless somebody you take it over, because I don't go in sour right away.
All right.
So all the best.
Thank you very much. You have a wonderful night.
Good
And
topic.
thank you very much. And Troy, you wanted to chime in there a while ago.
Before chime in, I just wanted to say one other thing. We have some ordinances which speaks to the consultation of the Prime Minister or the Premier with the leader of the opposition. But the Constitution itself does not provide at all times for there to be a leader of the opposition. And I think that in itself can create some difficulty.
That's another spin you're putting on things. We have another.
It's an observation.
You seem to be a scholar of the Constitution right now. We have a call online. Okay, the caller left. Caller, you can call back. Troy, you want to chime in now?
Yeah, well, in the meantime, until the caller comes in, of course, Spencer is deep in the
Very
Constitution.
deep.
Here, and deep in the law. You know, I leave some of those lawyering things to the lawyers.
Okay, let's take this call before you come back. Yeah, good evening, caller. You're live and on the mark.
Good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening.
Good evening.
And good evening to the listeners home and abroad. Carl Brown here from Fountain Ghana Park and St. Kitts. Okay, interesting topic. Okay, are you going to throw something in the ring now? How about we adjust our constitution, and after doing that, we start making preparation to become a republic and move away from the king?
Caller, let me ask you a question. I've heard this talk about becoming a republic, right? What is really the value of becoming a republic? Because here's why I ask the question. Here's why I ask the question. No one has been able to convince me yet as to what is the real value of becoming a republic.
Have you looked at the other countries and states?
Yes, I have. I have.
Are they any better
And
off
what
than
have
us?
you gathered from them?
Are they any better off than
under
us, Carl?
republic and back then under the queen or the king? If we want to look at what has been accomplished from countries becoming a republic, I think what it does, it elevates one of our own citizens to become virtually the head of state. All right. Outside of that, what is the real value of becoming a republic? Simply to say that we have arrived and we are prepared to elevate one of ours. That is fine. I don't have an argument with that. But I have not been convinced as yet that becoming a republic, that we are going to see a greater stimulus in our economy. Becoming a republic, I am not convinced yet that we are going to be exposed to greater local and foreign. Those are the kind of things that I would probably want. What is the value? The value is, one of the value is we move away from under our king. The other benefit is we will have to vote for every member of parliament, not we send up some names to a king.
We still vote for
And it will be of the people's choice, but not of England's choice.
We
Well, the
vote,
people here are voted for, not by the king.
we vote for every member of parliament right now.
Hello?
We vote.
The king doesn't have any say in our election.
We vote for every member of parliament as we now do.
Yeah, but we don't vote for the governor general. We have to send up some names.
We wouldn't vote for the president either.
We then will be voting for a governor general, not over few ladies and gentlemen to
the
choice.
presidents in most of the republics
of the majority
are
of the
appointed.
people's choice.
Okay, Carl. The president in the countries that have gone republic are appointed presidents. They are not voted for. They are appointed by the government.
Yes.
All right, Carl. Well, thank you very much.
Well, I saw them two things in the ring.
Thank you.
Our constitution. Oh, and one last thing. We need to move to constituency councils.
All right.
Our ministers and elected representatives, when they get elected, cannot be found. They don't have no time for you to meet things. Look at what's going on here. We can't even get our ministers them to do a one-on-one or town hall meeting to hear the concerns, the ills, the will, the ideas and suggestions of the constituents.
Then you had a one-on-one yesterday.
Up to today, I had my one-on-one.
Today you had a one-on-one. Okay.
I have a one-on-one every second and fourth Wednesday once, and I try to make sure that I make myself available for every second and fourth Wednesdays in my constituency office.
Nice. That is sounding nice, but we can't say that back home here in St.
Well,
and that is why you all always hear me asking for constituency councils, and these would not be selected. They will have election in the constituencies to elect these people.
All right, Carl, we want to thank you for all of the 3 points that you would have thrown in the ring. Try is still rearing and raging to go. So try. We have another caller online. Caller, good evening. You're live and on the mark. We lost that caller. All right, we have another caller. Good evening. You're live and on the mark.
Yes. Tell Mr. Carl, right? I think we're good now. You think if we go into this thing, you think anybody could get a little $500 a month? Anybody could get peace money? Because nobody gonna be there to assist us, so now we got to plunge, like when you live with your mom. Right?
Yes.
You're posting a man, you live with me doing this, the mother said, okay, get an apartment next month. Yes, man, I could live by myself, But the month after now, January come now, hard time.
Yes.
February come now, hard time. You can't get your rent pay as you should. Lord, ma'am, and I did went down, but but I don't know what happened to me, man. Somebody give me back on the road. You're going back to bed to come back home. I bet they don't go Republic, but we don't want Commonwealth. We want to be no Commonwealth.
All right.
Because we ain't going to be happy. Nothing going to come better. No? You see Jamaica and them. How will we money we don't go? We 270 now. When we go Commonwealth, we don't go.
Well, it's not going to be that easy. It's not going to be that easy, so we don't need to argue about it now. So, all right, it's not going to be that easy.
Yeah,
all of these things are going to take time. So, Carl just threw it in the ring. So, it is his opinion. All right. So, caller, thank you very much. We're going to leave it there. We're going to go back to Troy. We have another caller online. Good evening, caller. Troy, the caller don't want you to speak tonight. You're live and on the mark.
Good night to the Honorable Evelyn.
Good night.
And good night to the Honorable Charlie, but and the Honorable Spencer. Good night.
Good night.
Wonderful topic as usual.
Thank you.
Now what happened, right? That I don't think petition and division know what they have until we lose it.
That's right.
You understand?
We take things for granted.
We have a blessed country, fertile soil, and a blessed land we live on. And I don't think we're talking about what Carbon was speaking about just now there.
Commonwealth.
Eh?
Becoming a republic.
not independent.
Republic.
Becoming a republic.
Republic. I believe that we can't do, I think Mr. Spencer Brand talked about it. We is one of the most strongest living people in the Caribbean. You understand? We are blessed.
Yes.
But you see, politically, we twist it and we turn it, especially when we're in opposition. You understand?
Yes.
Everything got a time. Election every 5 years. And I believe that if a government is working and they see things going good, because you there, when you're in opposition, you criticize yourself and everything, you know. But when you're going there in government now, you're telling the people them something else different. You understand? And you say when you're going there, you're going to do this and you're going to do that. You understand? We do whatever we have until we lose it. So I am agree with you all, and I strongly believe that we as a federation of St. Kitts and Nevis, we could do better, especially in agriculture, in tourism, or whatever. Because we got the land, we got the attractive mountainside, you know. So we just got to see our country move on and do well. And that before go, that female call today, right? All the talk show them got problem with her. She doing the topic. She calling us anything and just calling a ramp up the program. All the talk shows them say they got the problem with her. They tell me so. I don't know if she should have the radio if she don't know what to say. Anyway, you all have a good night.
Thank you very much, sir. Everybody have their own opinion, and of course, we have to respect each other's opinion. We have another call online. Good evening, caller. You're live and on the mark.
Hello, good evening.
Yes, good evening.
Good evening.
It's a very good show, nice show.
Thank you.
I want to make a general statement or suggestion. Over the years, listening to the talk shows, including Left Talk on the mark, what the host should realize, the panelists,
yes,
they also have rights as much as the callers, because it's a talk show.
Right.
Both callers and the panelists interact.
Yes.
So I don't think it is right to cut the panelists when they are talking to accommodate a call. The same way they're going to wait on the caller to finish, let the panelists finish their thoughts.
Thank you very much.
I don't think it is right to cut off somebody while they are speaking. By the time they get back to the person, the panelists, they might even forget the point that
yes,
they were making unless they have it written down.
Yes.
So this is something I think you all should practice at one radio.
Thank you so much for that excellent
Let
point.
the panelists finish their, you could indicate to them by some gesture that they could finish off their point and make it quick before you just cut them in the middle of their conversation. I don't think that is nice.
Thank you, sir.
It's a talk show. Both callers and panelists interact and should be given the same respect.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm going to give you that respect now to make your point.
You know, the fact is that on the mark, we hadn't taken that many calls, and so we were giving the callers an opportunity to interact. Of course, I understand what the caller just called in and said, and his point is well taken. But we did take pretty much the first hour discussing a lot of what we were saying. So, caller, that was the reason why we were trying to get in so many of the calls, because we want to get the opinions of persons out there in the general public. Of course, 3 of us here are ministers, 3 of us are politicians, but the opinion of the public is also very, very important to us and important to everybody out there. That being said, though, let me just make the quick point that I wanted to make about the integrity
in public life.
What we did on Monday. What we did on Monday is really something that we should not have had to go to the House to do. Absolutely. I think Spencer said it in a nice way that it's because of the dysfunction in the opposition party. But then we see opposition the mouthpieces for the opposition going out and trying to put a spin on it as if, well, it is the CCM who is trying to do something untoward. And the reason for this is really because of the dysfunction in the NRP. Had we left it, then the the commission would not be able to function properly because it would not be properly
constituted.
formed. I mean, we could have left it. I mean, for my part, we could have left it, but you know, we have good people in CCM who.
And then remember, we have a very litigious society now. Everybody takes it to court for every little simple thing.
And so we want to make sure that we're doing everything
properly,
the right way. We want to make sure we're doing everything proper, so they can get their act together. And we have to do things to accommodate them. But then, you know, they have persons who are trying to spin because they have this type of philosophy that every single thing they're going to just talk something about it. They're going to try to throw dirt on everything and hope that some of the dirt sticks. Because as far as they're concerned, they're in opposition and they don't have to do anything right. All they have to do is to oppose everything and see where they can get some sort of issue to get a little bit of traction, see where they can get some sort of issue to create some confusion. But when people send me the Facebook pages and send me the posts that they have, you look underneath them, they got 10 like, and it's the same people who like them every single time. And when you look at the comments, it's the same people who make the comments every single time. They're not attracting anybody else. When you look at the people out there in the mainstream of the society, people in the mainstream of the society not gravitating to what they're saying because people understand. I think people, the electorate in Nevis, one thing I've always said is that the electorate in Nevis, they understand the politics. And the electorate knows that these guys are just trying to grab onto any little thing. Spencer did it so eloquently here tonight. I think Spencer could go in front of the court.
Yeah, man. Spencer sounds like a scholar. Scholar.
No, people take it me in the court.
And they lose, right?
You know, I don't interview people.
I heard somebody say that they're not even sure if the person knew that they had appeal.
We have another caller line. Caller, good evening. You're live on the mark.
Good evening, Mr. Evelyn, and to the other.
How you doing? How you doing?
See?
Yes, good evening.
Yes.
Good evening.
Couple of weeks ago, I made an announcement on behalf of Nevis Blind Light and Visually Impaired Society.
Yes.
That our lunch would be on the 22nd of this month. But we had to change it to the 29th.
Okay.
So we had our meeting today and we agreed to do whatever changes we need to make.
Yes.
I'm just making the announcement to the public because I did say that on the radio and at the concert, and so persons will have had that cemented in their minds. I'm asking the general public to please support us with our lunch as you usually do.
Yes.
And we are looking forward to having you.
Thank you so
I'll
much.
make another announcement later down.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thanks for the call, and you have a good night.
You too.
And you know, as we have another call online. Caller, good evening. You're live and on the mark.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Yes. I'm sure you gentlemen have heard of the saying, go with the letter of the law. Well, you heard of the saying, letter of the law and spirit of the law.
Yes.
Right? I think the same can be applied to the Constitution. Okay? What was the reason behind that important constitutional safeguard? What was it intended to do? Isn't it a check and balance for government?
Which constitutional
and shouldn't
safeguard?
honorable men and women?
Which section you're speaking about in particular?
I'm talking about the leader of the opposition appointment.
Yes.
Right. Okay. And shouldn't honorable men and women have a commitment to democracy and accountability and integrity in government? And therefore, they should feel very uncomfortable about this particular impact, because it essentially means that that important check and balance is not there. It is interesting that you place the blame squarely on the NRP leader, because according to you, she's supposed to be a whip to basically beat the other MP into supporting her. Right?
The caller, nobody else has said nothing about that.
Nobody
Those are
said
your
that,
words.
Caller.
Those are your words.
Okay, but you're saying that she should have been able to control. I think control was the word you used.
But of course,
Okay.
she's the leader of the party.
But then, okay, and MP is supposed to be equal, right? And what you're doing there is actually making the case for her appointment, because you're saying she's the leader of the party, and so you're in fact giving her a measure of seniority, basically based on that fact that she's the leader of the party. Remember, in our system, it's generally comprised of parties. But the thing is, you could easily have had two independent MPs and have the same impact. Okay? You know, you can't have your cake and still eat it. The main point is there should be a leader of the opposition.
So which one you would appoint, Carla?
Hello?
Which one you would appoint as the leader of the opposition?
I would have gone with the leader of the party, just like how
based on the support of whom?
You are conform
based on the support of whom? The Constitution says that the person has to have the support of at least one other person.
That is why.
So what you want us to do? Go against the Constitution? So you want us to go against the Constitution?
Let me finish. Just let me finish. You're talking about the letter and the spirit of the law. You all seem to have basically come to the conclusion, I think quite rightly, that this is an impasse, okay, that this is not good for our democracy, okay, and so, if, just like how you're saying
so you're calling on CCM, you're calling on the government side to solve the problem, so those over on the other side don't realize that this is not good, and that this is a problem. So they don't realize that.
Isn't it the government side who's going to introduce an amendment?
So they don't realize that. Well, the amendment is so that the Integrity Commission could be properly constituted, right? But it should not be up to us to get the opposition act together for them. That's what you're calling on us to do. I mean,
no, not necessarily. But what
I think, right, Carla. I think, right, Carla.
You are de facto trying to get a solution based.
Carla, I believe, right, that the argument that you are trying to make, with all due respect, is not a well thought of argument.
No, I
don't think the arguments are very cogent. Of course, you're entitled to your opinion. You're entitled to your opinion, but I am giving you an opinion on your opinion. I don't think it's a very cogent argument.
Carla, let me ask you a question. I'm not trying to interrupt you. Let me ask you a question. Do you feel that the Commissioner of Police, who is the top cop in the Federation, should have overarching responsibility for all of the police officers under his command?
Yeah.
Do you feel that the Prime Minister and the leader of the Labour Party in St. Kitts should have overriding responsibility for every single member in his political organization who is, quote unquote, putting their name on a ballot and things like that?
Generally, yes, but you know.
How come, Carla?
Even there,
Carla. You see, we can't have it both ways here, okay? How come then, when we say that we lay this squarely at the feet of the leader of NRP, you can't agree with that? How come?
Because what you are doing there is basically saying that the leader of the NRP has some kind of power to wield.
But Carla, she is the leader of a political organization, and she must be in a position. She must be in a position to control and to say to her members that this is how it's gonna be.
Your view on this. What I'm saying.
Why you think you become a leader, Carla?
Just like the Prime Minister can't just have his way with members, because there are also consequences. They could decide to fire the Prime Minister.
What I'm saying to you, I am not saying that the Prime Minister must have his way. I am saying that the leader must share the majority of the responsibility. That is what leadership is all about.
And if you can lead and take charge and take responsibility over the people who you lead, then move aside and step aside. That is what we are saying.
What is the purpose of the leader of the opposition?
What is the purpose of the leader?
You see, you're giving the impression that, oh, it's fine and dandy not having no opposition leader.
We never
And
said that.
We never said that. Caller, we never said that.
Problem.
Caller, we never said that.
Not the inability for them to come together and decide who's going to be leader.
We never said.
I'm sure if you were listening properly, I'm sure if you were listening properly, Spencer outlined why it is important to have a leader.
You are misrepresenting what we are saying. We never said that there ought not to be a leader of the opposition.
One other thing, right? We also have the situation in the federal arrangement, right?
Yes.
Where the leader of the opposition appears to be supportive of the government.
So what's wrong with that?
It certainly does. Just let me finish. Jules, man, come on. He certainly does not appear keen on holding the government, the government accountable and providing an alternative. It's my opinion, you might as well cross the floor.
Caller, you are being unfair. Because listen, even though you are in opposition, we said it earlier today, when you are in opposition, you can give constructive criticism. You don't have to oppose everything the government does.
So
you got time to argue.
Hello?
Caller, even though you are in the opposition, it does not mean that you have to oppose everything that the government does. And that is the point was clearly made earlier today. We have an opposition in Nevis, and no matter what we do, if we bring down heaven, they can't say it is done properly.
The leader of the opposition, and we're coming straight to the Integrity Commission now, the leader of the opposition is going to be down here in the federal parliament, is going to appoint a person on the Integrity Commission as well.
Yes.
Okay? If it is a case where de facto again, the premier is supportive of the government. How does that make that commission, that Integrity Commission, fair and balanced?
Why are you saying he's supportive of the government? I have heard the premier in the parliament in Sinkis, and he has opposed stuff that the government has said as well.
Listen, we all live here.
But I guess you have your own perception, caller.
We already have a problem with our legislatures being so small, because that is one of the reasons why we have this problem too. Okay? You can't have this kind of collusion, I call it collusion,
but that's what you want to call
in the federal parliament. Right? Like I said, we all live here. You may say otherwise.
That's your opinion. Spencer made his opinion clear, and you call to criticize Spencer's opinion.
That it is bad for democracy when the arms of government are not held accountable. And I hope that whatever constitutional changes are made in the future, that these issues are dealt with. And I go back to my original point. Deal with the spirit as opposed to the letter of the law. Of course, what you're saying is right in the sense that the Constitution does not, in the circumstances, allow for a leader of the opposition. Right? But is it good for our democracy that we don't have a leader of the opposition?
Because
remember, I think somebody pointed out you could have a landslide, a total landslide.
We have another caller who is waiting.
Would you like that situation in government?
We have another caller waiting.
I am one who always believe that there ought to be opposition, because if you have a good, strong opposition, it keeps the government on their feet.
Caller, you'll have to wrap up. We have another caller who is waiting. Caller, you have to wrap up. We have another caller who is waiting online, please. Yeah, Thank you very much. Good evening, caller. You're live and on the mark. Hello? The caller has left.
Certainly, I think that caller previously, that he has his mind set on what he thinks should happen, and I guess he thinks that
okay, we have the caller back online. Caller, good evening, you're live and on the mark.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening.
What I think happening, Eric, many of these political leaders, especially in the Caribbean, politicians, they seem to get confused with the title opposition, especially in government. They seem to feel like they should oppose everything. I mean, common sense is not really common for real. What it means really, I mean, if the government doing something, it is constructive. You are expected to support the government because it's one country.
Precisely.
You all are living in. However, if there is a certain legislation want to be passed or a bill and you feel like it's a threat, to your citizens, then you can oppose. But if you genuinely is something, then even though you are a member of the opposition, you support the government.
Because to give you a prime example, we had a sitting of the National Assembly last week,
yes.
And we had a consumer protection bill there. And I got up and I supported it because I said, I'm a consumer. And all consumers need to be protected. I mean, if I don't see anything wrong with the bill, I should just get up and make up something that I think is wrong.
Exactly.
That ain't make no sense.
And you see, it's a pity that you see, that's a perfect example of how some of these people are thinking. That everything the sitting government do is all bad. Once they get in parliament, it should not supposed to be like that.
Precisely.
Not because they are on the opposition side. They need to understand what the word opposition really means. Think between the lines and read between the lines.
Of course.
And if they continue to do that, then people are going to suffer as a result of their stupidity.
Thank you very much, caller.
You're welcome.
I don't want the caller to feel that we are trying to pass the buck, so to speak. The reality is that the function and the role of the opposition, and more in particular the leader of the opposition, is a constitutional requirement and plays a critical role in the governance of the country. And when we do not have a leader of the opposition, and the constitution provides, sadly, that at times there may not be a leader of the opposition, then that could create some challenge in governance in the country. And I'm saying, I have said before that perhaps in our constitutional amendments, our reform, so to speak, that I feel that there should be mechanisms in the constitution that provides for a leader of the opposition at all times. That is the point that I'm trying to make. I don't want anybody to feel and think that we are trying to pass the buck because the leader and the member opposite can't get their act together. That is part of the issue. But the reality is, for us to be in proper accordance and in agreement with our constitution, we ought to have a leader of the opposition at all times.
That's right.
And a matter of fact, the leader of the opposition, quote unquote, is theoretically a prime minister or a premier in waiting. You know, that is how important the role and the function of the leader of the opposition is. I know some people may not like me when I say that, but that is the reality.
Not here in Nevis, you know.
Well,
yeah, but another call.
No,
It's a good time to take a call.
You're right, too. You're right, because maybe that's why you can't.
It's a good time to take a call. Caller, you're live on the mark.
Yeah, good night.
Good
to
night.
all the panelists.
Yes.
Good night.
I have my point and thing. I think that this show that there is an urgent need for reform in the constitution.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
And this Westminster system seems to be failing us continuously and putting us in this crab in a barrel, keeping us sticking this crab in a barrel mentality and this divide and rule mentality. We have to look beyond that because there's an urgent need for unity amongst our people regionally, locally, and globally.
I agree with you,
The
caller.
challenges that we face cannot be divided between the parties.
We're too small to be so divided.
People have to be mature. Government must mature and the opposition must mature to meet each other midway and solve the problem.
I love that. I love that point, caller. Caller, where you said the opposition needs to be mature, right?
Both opposition and government.
Both opposition and government.
And then let me say about the thing. This thing about the republic, you cannot disrespect the aspirations of our forefathers who wanted to see us totally liberated. I don't care how much comfortable I feel being slave under this British monarchy. The time enough come for us to be moved to free sovereign people. I don't care what tangible material benefit you might put to living under this crown. There's a time for us to lift the burden and the shackles of British. It's going to be 400 years next year since we are under this British colonial rule. What have we been? We have been material, but we still under the control. We still, the Governor General explained to me, every Wednesday the Prime Minister had to come and explain to him what's going on in the country, in an independent country. Are we satisfied with that? Come on, give thanks and praise.
Thank you very much. We have another call online? No. Okay, the caller has left. We're getting some very interesting calls tonight. I think this has been a very interesting topic. Unfortunately, our time is running out. We have just another 5 minutes to go. And you know, when you're having an interesting conversation and when the topic is interesting, the time just goes by so very, very quickly. But I mean, Spencer, we have opened up some very, very important avenues tonight that we need to look at more carefully. You've spoken about the Constitution, you've spoken about the IPL, but we'll have to be going back into the House shortly because of this situation. And of course, as we have been saying all along, the integrity in public life is part of the good governance agenda. And remember that ordinance was passed by your sitting CCM party in government. And that is why we have to ensure that all of the I's are dotted and all of the T's are crossed, because we cannot afford to have any loopholes and then someone calls and said, well, I was asked to submit filing to the IPL and it is not properly constituted. We have another call online. Good evening, caller. You're live and on the mark. Hello, caller.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening. You're live and on the mark.
Yeah, good evening, Mr. Evelyn. Good evening to your panelists.
Good evening.
I've been listening here, and my observation is that some people seem to want to make up the rules as they go along, change the rules as they go along to suit their appetite. That is not the way it's supposed to be.
Not at all.
He called in and he started talking about the letter of the law and the spirit of the law. He wants to change the Constitution to suit himself. Another observation is that he wants to stay over there and dictate how Nevis people supposed to operate. Nevis people voted for who representative they want to go to St. Kitts and represent them.
Of course.
And all he needs to do is to get accustomed to it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, caller.
Caller, that was some very profound comments. Short, sweet, and to the point. Well, our time is running out. We have just another 2.5 minutes to go. Gentlemen, it's time to wrap up.
Yeah, you know, Eric, I think this was a good initiative. I like sitting in this seat. I hope we do this. I hope we do this a few more times. You know, on a serious note, certainly we came to deal with some serious issues. The issue of the integrity in public life is a serious one. You know, there are some mouthpieces out there that speak on behalf of the opposition, and they're trying to create a lot of confusion on the island.
There's none.
Everything they're trying to make it into an issue. They're trying to say that there's nothing happening on the island of Nevis when we have been progressing so well here on the island of Nevis. And you know, it's sometimes if people follow them and listen to them, it could be a bit disheartening. So that's why I tend to subscribe to the notion, ignore the noise, you know, just let them continue to clang, clang, clang like the empty barrels that they are. Let them make a lot of noise. The truth is, we went in there to deal with this thing because the opposition can't get their act together. And because they can't get their act together, that don't mean that it should affect everything that the government have to do. At some point in time, the buck has to stop with them. I think, as Spencer said, we throw it squarely on the shoulder of the leader of the opposition. I mean, politics is a grown person thing. And if you say you want to come in and you say you want to lead, you should be able to lead.
Final word, Spencer?
Eric, I want to thank you for the invitation, and I think we had a very good discussion tonight. I think it opened up the door for a wider discussion on this particular issue, and I believe that the people of St. Kitts and Nevis will definitely continue to have that discussion. So thanks so much for the invitation.
Well, I want to thank you, gentlemen, for coming, and I think we had a very spirited conversation tonight. As Troy said, we maybe need to do this a little bit more often, and so I want to thank my two guests, the Honorable Spencer Brand, the Honorable Troy Library. It has been certainly my pleasure hosting the program tonight, and of course, remember, this program is rebroadcast tomorrow at 1 p.m. You know, normally people who listened on a Wednesday listen again on a Thursday. Those who did not get a chance to listen tonight, make sure you listen tomorrow at 1 on the mark. And of course, we'll be back here next week for another edition of On the Mark at 8 o'clock. On behalf of my guests, I'm your host, Eric Evelyn, saying thanks. Have a good night. God bless.
The views and opinions expressed on the preceding program were solely those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of the Nevis Broadcasting Company Limited or